Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Minecraft Java video. Today we're going to be taking a look at some Minecraft shaders for low-end PCs, devices and laptops. And these are the devices that can't run Minecraft that well or have low frames per second FPS in-game. I know some of you have been asking me about some shaders that you can run for low-end devices and PCs and laptops that are not meant for gaming. There might be a work PC or a computer with a graphics card that can't handle the upper end shaders for Minecraft like Silder's Vibrant Shaders Extreme Volumetric Edition or BSL shaders or complementary shaders, and you just want some shaders to play with, and also you don't want any impact on the actual gaming performance either. So today I'm going to show you the top best 5 shaders that will run and perform quite well on lower end PCs and low end devices like laptops and other computers that aren't based for gaming. And I am on the latest version of Minecraft, the Java edition. This is version 1.17.1, as you can see on the top left there on my screen. Currently I am running a shader on here, and I'll show you quickly. This is the Silder's enhanced default shader, and this one is quite good because it is actually based around the vanilla look and feel of the game. So any of you who are looking for that classic vanilla feeling, but at the same time you also want shaders, then I would highly recommend that you try out these shaders. So as you guys can see, we do have moving grass there, moving plants, and we also have the moving trees as well. We do have some nice shadows as well. As you guys can see, the sun's coming in there and we've got the shadows there, and we've also got the character model shadow is there, as you guys can see on the ground over there. In terms of the actual graphics, they do look quite nice. I do get on average about 200 FPS using this shader with Optifine, and about 250 FPS if I use this with Iris shaders. So I am going to show you guys different shaders today, and I'm going to show you guys how they perform with Optifine and how they perform with Iris shaders as well. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you guys some tweaks you can do to get much more higher FPS in game. So any of you who are running the vanilla version of the game and are getting low FPS, anything lower than 30 FPS in your system, I'm going to show you a few tweaks you can do to try and achieve a higher FPS in your game. So as I mentioned, this is the Silder's enhanced default shader, and with Optifine I do get close to 200 FPS, and with Iris shaders I get on average close to 250 FPS. Okay, so the next shade I'm going to show you guys is Silder's Vibrant Shaders. Now this is the light version of the shader pack. As you guys can see immediately, we do have some cool looking rays there coming in from the sun. Everything is much more vibrant. We do have a different looking skybox as well. The good thing about the Silder's shaders is that they do come in different versions. So if you find that you are getting higher FPS with this one, you can actually go ahead and download the medium or high profile versions of this shader as well. And it's really cool because we do get that nice sun effect there. And as you guys can see, everything looks really nice. I do find that I am getting on average 220 FPS with Optifine and 220 FPS with Iris shaders as well for this shader pack. So if you guys are looking for something more colorful, something with a different skybox and some nice sun rays coming there, as you guys can see, we've got some nice rays coming in through the trees there, and we've got the traditional moving grass and moving trees as well, as you guys can see. Then I would highly recommend that you try out the light version of Silder's Vibrant Shaders. The next shader we're going to look at is actually called Potato Shaders, and as the name suggests, it is made for potato machines. And as you guys can see, everything does look quite nice, and I do get on average 330 FPS with Optifine using these shaders. Now, unfortunately, these shaders don't actually work with Iris shaders, so if you were to load them up with Iris shaders, then they would not work. For some reason, they're not optimized with Iris shaders, so you would have to use Optifine to run these. But having said that, they do run quite well with Optifine. I am getting 330 FPS on average, and everything does look nice. We do have the traditional moving grass there and the moving trees as well. we've got a vanilla type skybox, as you guys can see, and we do have some nice colors. I do like the color scheme that they have used in this. It does look quite vibrant, as you guys can see, and everything does look colorful and nice in this shader. And as I mentioned, on average I do get approximately 330 FPS using Optifine. Unfortunately, it does not work with Iris shaders, so to try this out you would have to use it with Optifine. The next shader pack we're going to be looking at is actually called T shaders. Now, when you first activate this shader pack, you might think that nothing has changed, but if you look closely, we do have moving grass and the moving trees as well, and we do have a bit of a reflection there in the water, and we do have other options as well. If you do use Optifine or Iris shaders, you can change the settings. So, for example, I can go into options, video settings, shaders, shader options, and then post-processing tone map, and I can choose a different preset for this. So for example, I've got BSL selected here. If I click into BSL, I can actually change the saturation and the vibrance as well and make it look slightly different. Let's change the time to day. So yeah, as you guys can see, it does look slightly different, and we do have the moving trees and moving grass there as well, and we have a bit of different type of water effects going on compared to the vanilla water as well. We do have some different type of customizations which we can do in the options using Iris shaders and Optifine. Now, what's really interesting is that I am getting close to 600 FPS on average when I use Optifine. However, with Iris shaders, I do get on average 370 FPS. So, interestingly, I do get a higher frame rate using Optifine when I use T shaders. So if you guys are looking for a shader pack that's slightly different to the vanilla feel, and you want something with moving grass, moving trees, and something that looks slightly different to the vanilla basic game, but at the same time you want to maintain a higher frames per second, then I would highly recommend that you try out T shaders. And as I mentioned earlier, I do get higher frames with Optifine compared to Iris shaders. Alright, and the final shaders which I'm going to show you guys today that work quite well with low-end PCs and devices and laptops is actually called Skylake shaders, and I do get some nice frames per second with this one. As you guys can see, I'm getting a close to average of 600 FPS using these shaders, and I am using the Skylake shaders with Iris shaders because they did not perform well at all with Optifine. Some of you might even see a black screen when you try to load these up with Optifine. So I would only recommend that you try Skylake shaders with Iris shaders and use Iris shaders to play the game with Skylake shaders. As you guys can see, as I said earlier, I am getting close to 600 plus FPS using this shader pack. So if you guys are looking for something with a nice skybox, as you guys can see, we do have a nice skybox there. We also have a different looking water effect in here. So let me just quickly show you guys. We do have some nice water effects here, as you guys can see. And we have the classic moving grass, and we also have the leaves on the trees that are moving as well, as you guys can see over here. So it does look different to the vanilla game. As you guys can see, we also have some nice shadows there coming in as well compared to the vanilla game of Minecraft. So if you guys are looking for something with a higher frames per second and that will give you some nice performance, I would highly recommend that you try out Skylake shaders, but only do it with Iris shaders. Don't bother using Optifine for this because you might run into some problems. Alright, so I'm now going to show you guys how to actually run the vanilla game with higher FPS, because at the moment, if you run the vanilla game, chances are on the lower end devices, PCs and laptops, you might get a lower frame rate. For example, something that's lower than 30 FPS, something that's lower than 50 or 60 FPS, and you want to boost those FPS in the game. You want to get higher performance, and there are some tweaks which we can do. And the main thing I'm going to show you guys is actually to run the game using Optifine, but select no shaders and using Iris shaders without any actual shaders loaded onto it. So let's go ahead and launch the Minecraft launcher, and I'll show you some examples. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys a quick comparison between Iris shaders and Optifine when we don't apply any shaders to them and just run them in the game without any shaders, and we're going to see what kind of FPS we can actually achieve inside the game. So I'm going to load up Optifine first of all, and let's just wait for that to load up, and we're going to go into the game, disable the shaders, and I'm going to see what kind of FPS I could get in the game. Alright, so we are in the game now. I'm going to click on options, go to video settings. So at the bottom here you can see I am using the latest version of Optifine, which is the preview version, pre-34, and it's Optifine. And I'm going to go into shaders, and I'm going to actually click on the off button here for the shaders. So I'm not going to actually run any shaders with Optifine. It's just going to be the basic game with Optifine loaded, but no shaders actually showing. So I'm going to go back into the single player, and we're going to take a look at what kind of FPS I'm going to actually get inside the game without any shaders loaded. So as you guys can see, I am getting close to 700 FPS there. I have gone to other areas in the game where I have been able to actually achieve 1000 FPS with the Optifine switched to off and no shaders selected. Now I can actually go into video settings, click on shaders, click on internal. Let's see what kind of FPS we can get with that as well. So as you guys can see, the internal setting is also giving me close to 500 FPS there. I'm actually going to go back and switch it off, and I'm going to see for comparisons what kind of FPS I can get now. Alright, so as you guys can see, it has moved up into the 700 region there, and as I mentioned earlier, I was getting close to 1000 FPS in a different area. So on average, I can actually achieve approximately between 700 to 1000 FPS just by using Optifine but not actually loading any shaders. So as you can see at the moment at the top there, I am getting about 1000 FPS there. So if you guys are running the vanilla game and getting lower than 30 FPS, one option would be to actually load up the game with Optifine but don't apply any shaders to it, and you might be able to see a higher performance boost to your game. Alright, so I'm going to load up the game now with Iris and Sodium, and similar to what I just showed you with Optifine, I'm going to run the vanilla game without any shaders applied to it, and I'm going to see what kind of FPS I can get inside the game. So let's wait for the game to first load up. Alright, so if I click on options, go into video settings, you can see that this does look different to the screen that I was seeing when I was using Optifine. And then if I click on shader packs, I'm going to disable the shaders now, click on apply, and then let's go back and go into the single player world, and let's see what kind of FPS I can now get with Iris shaders and Sodium running together. However, the shaders are now disabled. So as you guys can see, I'm now actually getting close to 1000 FPS there. It's actually dipping a bit there, but I am getting about 1200. When I was playing this earlier, I was getting on average 1200 FPS just by using Iris and Sodium and not having any shaders. So if you guys are looking for the max performance, I would highly recommend that you try out Iris and Sodium at the same time, but don't actually apply any shaders. If I press the F3, you can see it does say on the right hand side there in the middle, Sodium renderer, and on the top there we can see it says Minecraft Java 1.17.1 Iris-Fabric loader. So we do know that we have got Iris shaders running alongside Sodium. So as you guys can see, I am getting 1200 FPS there, and that is what I mentioned I was getting earlier when I was playing this and testing this out, and that is the average FPS I would say I do get with using Iris shaders without any shaders loaded into this. Those of you who don't know this, Iris shaders is a good alternative to Optifine, and it comes with Sodium, which is another performance boosting mod, and I would highly recommend anyone who has been having problems with their performance to try out the Iris shaders mod as well. Just bear in mind that Iris shaders is a newer mod. It was developed quite recently, so you may come across a few bugs here and there. However, we do get some nice performance FPS using this. So if you guys are looking for the maximum available performance boost, I would highly recommend that you try out Iris shaders alongside Sodium just by downloading the Iris shaders mod, and I'll leave a link in the description on how to actually download and install Iris shaders and how to download and install Optifine for Minecraft Java Edition 1.17.1, and how to actually also enable the shader options in Iris shaders as well. I have done a video on the Starline fork for Iris shaders, which I will leave a link in the description. Hopefully you guys have found this video useful, and if you do have any queries or questions about the shaders that I've shown you today, or how to run Optifine and how to run Iris shaders or how to install them, then do leave them in the comment section below. And also please do subscribe to this channel to help support Alpha grow, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.